Yo, what's up? My name is Vulture3 and welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today we are going to go a little farther back in time. This story takes place my 10th grade year. Now, 10th grade was a strange year for me. Nothing too crazy happened, but it definitely had its moments, such as the story I'm about to tell. So, this story starts off at the beginning of 8th period, which for me at the time was geometry. My geometry teacher was probably in the top 3 most hated teachers in the school. We are just going to call him Mr. Houston. Now, the day before this, Mr. Houston had given us geometry homework, and he started the class by instructing us to take this homework out so we could grade it. And as everybody in the class was taking this paper out, I made a comment about how I thought I was going to fail the paper. Mr. Houston told me to not talk like that and to try and be more positive, and then I made a comment about how I didn't feel positive, so that would be lying, and then I proceeded to sarcastically ask the teacher if he expected me to lie to him. So in response, he told me to just be more positive, and then I said, but Mr. Houston, that wouldn't be the truth. Now, this pissed Mr. Houston off, because his next question for me was if I wanted Saturday school, but I told him it didn't matter because I wouldn't be there anyway, and then he asked me if I just wanted to go up to the office, so I stood up and said let's go. So, Mr. Houston told me to walk up to the office. Now, one of my buddies, we're just going to call him Alex, was sitting in the same row as me. He was all the way at the front of my row, so I had to pass his desk when I got up to go to the office. So as I passed his desk, I turned around and dapped him up, because I didn't think I was coming back to class. All you hear is Mr. Houston go, Alex, follow him up to the office. So, Mr. Houston, Alex, and I arrived at the office, and after my teacher explained his version of the situation, my principal says we should have just kept our mouths shut, and then Mr. Houston brings up the fact that I dapped up Alex, and my principal's whole mood changed. My principal got pissed and gave us both a Saturday school for interrupting class, and then Mr. Houston started making shit up that didn't even happen, saying that Alex was encouraging me to argue with him when Alex wasn't saying anything at all. He also tried to say that he gave me multiple warnings to stop, when, from my point of view, there was only one warning and a couple threats after that. Alex and I sat there trying to reason with them that a Saturday school for a handshake was overkill, but they didn't care, and we got sent back to class. Now, you might think that's where this story ends, but you'd be wrong. When I got back to class, I was so pissed I was shaking, so I took all of my work and put it in my bag and just laid my head on my desk. After a couple minutes, Mr. Houston walked over and tapped on my desk and told me to get all my work back out, so I did. There's this kid named Jim. He wasn't being loud or misbehaving, he just had a smirk on his face while this was happening. And Mr. Houston turns around and goes, Jim, do you want a Saturday school next? And then I butted in and went, for what, Mr. Houston? He's just sitting there. And then the teacher told me to go back up to the office. So when I stood up before I left the room, word for word, I said, Mr. Houston, I don't understand you. Never have, never will. You're tripping. And my whole class just sat there in shock. So I proceeded to walk back up to the office, still literally shaking with anger, by the way. And my principal was like, why are you back up here? And I said, so Mr. Houston threatened Jim with Saturday school, but Jim wasn't really doing anything wrong. So I asked Mr. Houston what Jim did wrong, and Mr. Houston sent me up here. Me and my principal walked back to Mr. Houston's room, and my principal calls my teacher out to the hallway. Mr. Houston proceeds to make up this lie on how Jim was misbehaving and being loud and how I stood up for him, but really the only thing Jim did was have a smirk on his face. But I knew it really wouldn't get me anywhere to keep on arguing with them, so I just kept my mouth shut. And my principal informed me that I now had 2 Saturday schools. And then he asked me if I was calm enough to go back to class. I said no, and he told me to sit in the lobby until the end of the day, which was only like another 20 minutes. But while I'm sitting there, he walks up to me and says that if I didn't get in trouble the next week, he would take away one of